Guys, okay, we start our new book today. So it's called The Trouble with Chickens. Um, and it says a J.J. Tooley mystery. And I was going to read the back to you just so you kind of have an overview. It says J.J. Tooley is a former search and rescue dog who is trying to enjoy his retirement after years of performing daring missions saving lives. So he's not terribly impressed when two chickens named Dirt and Sugar, who look like popcorn on legs, and their chicken mom show up demanding his help to find their missing siblings. Driven by the promise of a cheeseburger, JJ begins to track down clues. Is Vince the funnel hiding something? Are there dark forces at work, or is JJ not smelling the evidence that's right in front of him? Okay, so we have another mystery. I think those tend to be our favorite so far, or maybe my favorite because I'm picking it. This book does have quite a bit of chapters. It has 23 chapters, but the chapters are very short, so we are going to be reading 2, maybe 3 chapters a day. Like the first chapter is only 3 pages. So we'll be reading a couple of chapters today, or a day, and this week we are going to focus on character traits, okay? In this book, there are a ton of character traits, so it'll be really fun. The characters, I've read a few chapters. They seem pretty funny, so I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. Chapter 1 is Chicken Breath. It was a hot, sunny day when I met that crazy chicken. So hot that sometimes I think the whole thing may have been a mirage. But mirages don't have chicken breath, mister. She was a short, tired-looking bird with a funny red comb on her head. It looked about as useful to her as a spoon is to a snake. I think that's going to be our detective dog. So, he does not look impressed. Her eyes were tiny and black and set so close to each other they practically touched. I'd be surprised if the right eye could report back seeing anything other than the left eye. Chickens make me nervous. You can't keep them quiet. We stared at each other for an awkward moment. We stared at each other for an awkward moment. I nodded to tell her to move on. She picked up her left foot carefully, not sure whether she should back out of my sweltering doghouse. As her foot hung in midair, she lowered her pointy white head and very deliberately said, "Nothing." A phone rang, a car backfired, a blender roared, and that crazy chicken didn't even blink. She was one tough bird. Chapter 2 is introduction. So far we know we have the dog and the chicken. So I think we're going to get some names here. My name's Jonathan Joseph Tooley, JJ for short. I spent 7 years as a search and rescue dog. The quiet life in the country where Barb, my trainer, lived was my reward for all those years of service. Some reward. I could track that 6-day-old scent of a lost hiker and pull a fat guy out from under a pile of rubble, but I couldn't get that crazy chicken out of my yard. Her name was Millicent. I called her Mush, just because it was easier to say and it seemed to annoy her. She had 2 little puffy chicks with her. She called them Little Boo and Little Peep. I called them Dirt and Sugar, for no particular reason. Mush had got the word that I knew how to solve problems. Boy, did that chicken have some problems. It says Boo, but it sounds like it should be Bo, but it says B-O-O. So there's Boo and Peep. I'll pay you in chicken feed, said Mush. That was the chicken's first problem. I don't work for feed. No dice, I replied. Dirt and Sugar were bathing in my water bowl. I'll pay you in feathers. That was the chicken's second problem. I already got a pillow, I grumbled. Dirt and Sugar were playing in my food bowl now. Crazy chicks. I was losing my patience. I'll work for a cheeseburger. Take it or leave it. Mush's tiny chicken head cast a huge pointy shadow against the side of my weather-beaten doghouse. She took a step away from me, turning her head to glance at Dirt and Sugar. Those two feather balls jumped out of my water bowl and rolled around in the grass. They looked like they didn't have a care in the world, but their mom sure did. She looks a little disappointed in them, playing around like that. A passing cloud offered some uncertain shade from the sun. Mush's big, pointy chicken shadow finally moved. Done, said Mush. Well done. I cracked. I thought she smiled. But it's tough to tell if you smile when you have a beak. Okay, so chapter 3. We're going to read chapter 3 too because we've got our introductions. We know our characters, so now we're kind of getting to the actual story. Chapter 3 is Chicken Missing. Mush paced back and forth. Dirt and Sugar followed behind her. As Mush took a step forward, Sugar fell in line right behind her. I expected Dirt to do the same. For some reason, she waited 2 beats, then got in line. Dirt left enough space in between herself and Sugar to park a squirrel. I'm no chicken expert, but something wasn't right. Who's missing? I asked Mush. The truth was somewhere between her brain and her beak. I wasn't sure it would survive the trip. Spill it, Mush, I grunted. She was getting on my nerves. Dirt and Sugar stepped out from behind their mother. They were half yellow, half white, like fuzzy popcorn kernels with feet. They were new enough to the world to be spitting up eggshell. Ooh. Their eyes were wide and young and close set like their mother's. Sugar cocked her head, stepped out from behind her popcorn sister, and motioned with one tiny wing from Dirt to stay behind. A ladybug flew into the doghouse. So as you can tell from the picture, there is quite a bit of space between them, and we know the title is Missing Chicken, so that's where the missing chicken must go in line. And crawled across the floor, obviously to the chicken building. I growled. Sugar peeped. I growled again. Sugar took a step closer, bracing herself against the water bowl. Poppy and Sweetie are missing, she whispered. She may have looked fluffy and new, but this chick had already learned that life outside the shell was not all it's cracked up to be. Haha, get it? They get out of the shell by cracking it. So we know that Poppy and Sweetie are missing, okay? So we're going to think about the character traits of the dog, JJ, and the mom chicken, Mush. We're just going to call her Mush because that's what he refers to her in the book. So I want you to think about, how would you describe JJ? He wants to be helpful, but he also is being annoyed by her. And Mush really isn't saying anything. She's just walking around. And finally, the chicks said that Poppy and Sweetie were missing. So chapter 4 is called Poppy and Sweetie. See y'all tomorrow.